tell us about how you first learned that you had a son, uh, Brandon, whom we call Ben most of the time on the podcast. And then can you just walk us through how it went when Ben and Avery came to meet you in person?
Okay. First time I found out about Brandon was he called he went on that ancestry thing with Rebecca, and then Rebecca said, "Hey, you look just like my uncle or my dad." So she turned around. He said, "Oh yeah." So next thing she gave me my phone number, and so I got a call like 9:30 at night saying, "Hey, um, is this Charles Crane?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Well, I think you might be my father." And that was it. And then he says, "Well, I'm gonna come and see you." So a week later, him and a young lady came to my apartment and everything, and introduced myself, and he's telling me all about himself and where he lives and what he does and stuff like that, and and he stayed for like maybe 3 hours, and all he did was talk about himself. Powerful, you know. And but that was it, And he said, "I'll come back and see you." And so, like for 3 months in a row, he came back to see me like every 2 weeks.
Okay. Now, during these first initial meetings with him, did he tell you what he did for his job and
He
what
said he
what he,
owned app company.
he said he owned an app company? Okay.
Yeah, and he said a very it's doing really well. Got a lot of investors, and when it comes out, you're gonna be so proud of me. That's what he
Yeah.
said.
Did he share with you that he'd been married twice or that he had children?
Yeah, he told me about 2 months into him coming to see me, tell me about he had he had two wives and he had two kids and everything. And I said, "Well, I'd like to meet him." And he says, "Well, um, you can't meet him right now, but we'll see what will work out." And that was it.
The kids, right? Not the
Yeah.
wives.
Yep.
Just to be clear.
I mean, yeah, pretty cool, but
Hey, listen. He, he was, he thought he would get the women, so that wasn't true.
yeah. Okay. Did he tell you why he was divorced?
Yeah, he said that I tried to get along with them, but they didn't see eye to eye with me. And
Okay.
they didn't see eye to eye with you? Well, I have a way of doing things, and they didn't approve of it. I said, "What didn't they approve?" And he says, "My lifestyle." And I said, "Lifestyle? Come on, Brandon. What's that mean?" Well, I just I like everybody, and they didn't like the idea that I like everybody. And that's what he said to me. And what's that supposed to mean? And he says, "Well, I'm not faithful all the time." And I said, "What?" And he said, "That's the reason why I got divorced. I wasn't faithful."
Okay. See, I figured with maybe that might have been the story with Amber, but with me, I know that Becky, shared like he painted a pretty bad. I mean, I take that back. I think she said that he kind of painted a picture. It wasn't completely accurate. He left out a lot, um, but that he wasn't awful. Not as awful as the things I've heard previously that he's told other people. So I was actually surprised about that. So maybe he was a little bit more honest with you guys, being family and all.
No, the only one he talked to about it was me. He didn't tell Rebecca anything because she kept on asking me, and he wouldn't tell her. So he
Okay.
told me that stuff, and I said, "Well, So then, and then I asked him again, like after 2 months or 3 months, I guess it was. I asked him again, well, when do I get to meet your daughters? And he says, well, one of them lives in Portland, but I don't see her very often. I said, what? And he said, yeah, I don't see her very often. And the other one, um, I don't want you meeting her yet because we don't know where all this is going to go. I said, where is it all going to go? You don't want to be part of my life? I thought that's why you came to contact me. And he said, well, yeah, but, you might hear things that you don't want to hear. And I said, what's that supposed to mean? He says, well, I don't get along with my ex-wife very good. And I said, well, that's ridiculous. I mean, if you got kids, you got to try to get along with the family. He said, well, that's your opinion. That's all he said.
Yeah. All right, Amber. I'll let you take the next one.
Yeah, like so he came with Avery.
Yeah,
What did he say his relationship was with her? She was actually the mistress
yeah.
during my relationship, but how did he paint that relationship when he met you? And what did you think? Were they going to get married, or how did they present themselves to you, as if he's a successful guy and he has a
Oh,
stable
yeah.
home? Like,
He thought he was a class act. She loved him. They're going to move in with each other. I said, where do you live now? She said, in Washington. And I said, well, are you going to move in with him? He said, yeah. We're going to move in soon. And then I think it was maybe 2 days later after they were here like 5 days. And then when he told me that, well, I think I'm going to marry her. And I said, what? He said, I think I'm going to marry her. And I said, oh, I thought you were in a different relationship. I think you told me you were seeing somebody else at the time. And he turned around and said, oh, that's over with. You know? And he said the other girl that was him, she thought I was too possessive. And I said, too possessive? He said, yeah. I can, he said, well, I can go over a little bit overboard sometimes. That's what he said to me. But he said he loved her and she loved him and they were gonna move in together. But then, you know, next thing I know, 3 weeks later after she came here, she called me up on the phone and said, you can't believe anything Brandon's saying to you. I found out it's all lies. He stole money from me and I'm never gonna talk to him again. And she said, I hope you don't get involved with him. And she said, I'm sorry. And she hung up.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can only imagine how shocking that would be.
Oh, well, she turned around and invested his money in his business when there was no business. I mean, come on, that's ridiculous.
But at that time, you were full-fledged supportive of your new son. You were excited to know more about him. You were excited to have a relationship with him. And so, um, I'm sure you thought Avery was a nice girl as well. I remember you telling me that previously. And so, that ended, sounds like pretty quickly. I don't think I realized it was that quick after the meeting. Were you aware of the way that Brandon handled the breakup? Because, you know, Becky had to fly down there. He was acting suicidal. Like, there were a lot of phone calls. There was a lot of conversations and video recordings of Brandon threatening to kill himself, and that's why Becky flew down there, just to make sure he was okay. And there was stuff with vandalizing Avery's vehicle, and Becky was trying to help get the side view mirror back. Were you aware of any of this at the time, or were you
Yeah,
aware of this at any point?
yeah, I was aware of it when she went there, she didn't tell me she was going there until she was there.
Okay.
And, why didn't you tell me you were going? And he said it was an emergency and I had to leave. So she went up there and she told me everything that was going on, and that he was just off the rocker. He was drunk when she came there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she said he was just irate all the time, throwing things, breaking things, and everything else. And she was trying to calm him down. And I said, "So what is this about?" And she said, "Because him and the girl broke up." And I said, "His girlfriend?" And he said, "Yeah, we broke up." And I said, "Well, I know that because she called me." And that was the last of it. But I guess he when he came down here, he tried to bring another girl. What was her name? Teresa? Yeah, Teresa. He said, "This is
Do
my
we
new
know
girl."
Teresa? Is that new?
Oh
I don't think we've ever heard of a
Wait, are you
Teresa.
sure it's not Katie or Rachel?
no, it's
That's
not.
news.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Shut up.
So
Chuck, how
so
do I not know this?
I
yeah.
know.
Well, I mean, right. That's what I'm saying. In three
Teresa, write that
in
down.
4 years, in 4 years, he brought about 8 girls here.
What? Wait, we haven't heard that.
Hmm.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, he wasn't taking the relationship seriously, And I said, tried to talk to him about it. He said, "Well, I want to talk about it. It's my life."
Chuck, were you concerned about maybe this son of yours has mental health issues? And did you believe Avery when she said that whole company is a crock of poo and
Yeah,
doesn't exist? Were you like, oh my
yeah.
gosh, like how did you handle that?
Well, I was upset because I said he came here and lying to me, and I said, "What's wrong? Why did you tell me that?" "Oh, they're lying to you. The company's doing good. In fact, I'm going to Hollywood next week and meet with one of my investors." I said, "What?" "Yeah, I haven't. He's a basketball player or something." He said to me. I said, and I can't remember what he said. The guy's name was,
Is that when he
but
was wearing all those watches, the fancy watches and all that?
yeah.
The blinged
Well,
out ones or
he got,
I
something?
thought that was like a rapper guy or
I
something.
don't
I forgot his
remember.
name. He was a
and
rapper.
every time I turned around, there was somebody else. Then he told me maybe a month and a half after that. He told me he was going to San Francisco because he was meeting with another investor there. Right.
AKA Rachel.
He's done, I mean, it broke my heart about all this, and he just wasn't the person I thought he was. What really set me off is when he told me I couldn't see or meet my granddaughters, and I couldn't talk to them, and I couldn't try to contact them. And then when I did try to contact you, you, he turned around, he blew his stack, man. He called me, sent me a letter, screaming and hollering, and telling me I'm gonna cut you loose. I told you not to do this, not to do that, and you did it anyway. I said, "Hey, man, they're my granddaughters. You're not going to let me meet them. I'm going to go meet them myself." And that's what he blew stuff. And then I didn't hear anything from him for like 8 months. The thing is, Brenda's mom told me about the podcast before Rebecca told me,
Oh, okay.
and and I said, "Well, I don't know anything about that. Whatever you're doing, whatever it is, you know, that happened before I came along. I don't know anything about it and
Hmm.
everything else like that."
Hmm.
But it's none of my business. So I'm saying, "Well, you need to stay away from that woman." He's talking about you.
Shocker.
Well, she is the worst. She's the devil. She's the queen devil. I'm just her disciple. I'm a follower. I'm brainwashed.
I mean,
It's a joke, but it's not funny at the same
no,
time.
but you know what, Bruce? Every time I talked to her on the phone, all she said was bad things about both of you.
Yeah.
And I said,
Oh, maybe I'm creeping
why?
up on the.
I said, why? Well, they're saying he did this and he did this and he did. None of that's true. I said, they got proof. They got the women. They got all the people to say this and this. I said he turned around and they got restraining orders against him. All these women. So you're saying that the girls are lying? How could they be lying when it's court records?
Yeah.
Well, they were mistaken. They were mistaken and everything. And I mean, until I started looking into about Brandon and his life and his what's been going on and been to jail and probation and everything else, I said this is the kid I thought he was. You
Yeah.
know, he's not a kid, but he was my kid, and I said, you know, what could I have done where he wouldn't be this type of person? But see, Brandon's mom never told me that I had a son. You know, and I'm still mad at her about that. Well, because
As
I
you should be.
might have
It's
been able to help him, or maybe he would have came out a better man. I don't know, but I would definitely been there. You know,
Yeah.
so it's totally ridiculous. But I tell you what, when he didn't call me or get a hold of me for like 8 9 months or whatever, I, I just said I'm gonna cut ties with him and everything else. And then I get phone calls. You know what? He has two best friends. You know who those guys are?
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, both of them call me saying that Brandon's all upset with me, and I said, well, how'd you get my phone number? Well, I got it off his phone. So I said, why? He said, we want you to ease up on him. I said, ease up on him? He ain't done anything. Well, you're doing everything that he doesn't want you to do. I said, listen, that's between me and Brandon. I appreciate you guys being good friends and everything, but it's between me and Brandon. And I hung up. I don't know how you guys put up with him. I swear to God. I don't. I mean, that's the truth, you know. And he, I mean, he broke my heart, you know. I mean, I never thought I hurt that bad, but he hurt me, and so I blocked his phone number. He can't call me or from wherever he's at, and his mother can't call me. I don't want to have anything to do with them because, you know, I don't know.